I went through it.
Yeah, but with that many scribbles, we probably shouldn't have given him that one.
Okay,
Just
good evening.
highlight.
The Design Review Board public meeting of February 11th, 2016 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones at this time. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that all appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his discretion. In terms of a roll call, Board Member Benlian.
Here.
Board Member Charchian.
Here.
Board Member Malikian is absent. Board Member Mardian.
Here.
And Chairman Simonian.
Present.
The report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on February 4th, 2016. Next item on the agenda is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. I have no oral communication cards. None have been submitted, which takes us to staff announcements, which at this point in time we do not have any, except for the fact that the next Design Review Board meeting is canceled. So just note that. And we only have one item on tonight's Design Review Board agenda. So I'd like to turn it over. I'm not sure if you'd like to have Chairman Simonian or to the case planner, Vista Azadi.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and have the case planner start us off.
Okay. Good evening and thank you. The applicant is proposing modifications to a project previously approved by the Design Review Board in May of 2014 for a new 4-unit townhouse-style multifamily building located at 440 Palm Drive in the R1250 high-density residential zone. The primary request is to amend the approved cladding materials from wood siding and corrugated metal to stucco for the contemporary style project. The proposed modifications could not be approved at the staff level, and they do require the Design Review Board's approval. The proposed modifications include changing the approved cladding materials for the facade to be smooth stucco in varying colors, where the board previously approved IPE wood siding and corrugated metal wall panels, changing the approved mechanical screen material to a smooth stucco wall that is flush with the building, where the board previously approved metal screening set back from the building wall. Changing the natural stone and Corten steel planter wall materials to CMU, changing the design for the painted metal fence and the Corten steel pedestrian entry gate with a simple metal fence and matching gate, and changing the design along the west elevation to omit the protruding beam adjacent to this seating area to the north. Based off the proposed modifications, staff is recommending the project be approved with conditions as noted in the staff report. The applicant's request will not alter the site plan or footprint of the development that was previously approved. Privacy concerns for Unit D have been appropriately addressed as conditioned by the board when this project was last reviewed. The height of the windows at the rear for this unit have been raised and they've been placed higher on the wall. The entries to all the units remain along the east elevation, with each entrance recessed to achieve a covered entry area. The simple slab door is proposed to be accented in green with a frosted glass side light. Originally, the board approved a red-colored door. Except as noted, all other proposed windows and doors will not be modified and are consistent with the original approval. The applicant has also addressed the board's previous condition of approval and revised the driveway to have score lines in the concrete that run parallel to the street. Staff is recommending a condition of approval requiring the proposed location and material of the rooftop equipment screening to be revised to be more in keeping with the previous approval. The board previously approved metal screening for the rooftop equipment that complemented the overall building design through the use of material and location. The metal screening provided visual interest along the west and east facades of the building, and it was set back from the building wall. This helped break up the volumes and reduce the overall massing of the building. The proposed change would raise the height of the building walls to serve as a screen, and this emphasizes the massing of the building and diminishes the proportions of the previous design. In addition, the raised parapet heights unnecessarily increase the sense of height and mass, and they create a more top-heavy composition than what was previously reviewed and approved. The city's comprehensive design guidelines call for the use of a variety of cladding materials to enhance the building's design and create visual interest. As such, staff is also recommending a condition of approval requiring the proposed materials be revised to be more in keeping with the previous DRB approval, and that incorporates varied materials in order to highlight the building volumes without overemphasizing mass and scale and provide visual interest. In addition, the homogeneity of the proposed materials is not architecturally consistent with the contemporary style of the development. To reinforce the style of the building, the applicant should use a palette of materials that complements the overall building design through textures, colors, and high-quality materials. To date, staff has not received any comments from the public for this application. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Do we have any questions for staff? Okay. With that, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. I have Annette Minassian representing the applicant. Welcome.
Hello. Hi. I just want to add one more item that forgot to mention, that on sheet A109, there is a green screen trellis system on the left bottom corner. That's also going to be removed. So it just wasn't in the plan.
And where was that going?
That is actually along the back wall where the seating area is, and on the side where it's the patios for each unit,
Okay.
not where the entrance is on the other side of it. That's just another item that was going to be removed from the...
Do we have questions for the applicant? No?
Actually, I had a question.
Yes.
I noticed gadgets here. I'm assuming this was all the AC units are here. Are these the AC units?
They are, but...
They are?
Yeah.
Because from that other side, I don't see it.
In that view that you pointed out that they are showing, it's all the way in the back against the other parapet, and it just shows on that elevation just graphically. But if you were to stand, the only way you could see that is if you were on the next door roof.
Yeah, I thought we had this is a staff question, aren't we supposed to have at least 6 inches above the, regardless of the angle?
I believe so, yes.
That's fine. We can raise that. It can be a condition.
Now, another thing I noticed, you've added also some canopies at the entry where previously we didn't have.
At the entry or on the patios upstairs?
Upstairs, right.
Yeah. That's a new element as well. To kind of break up.
Another item is the windows have dropped.
They're more standard sizes as opposed to the previous design, just for cost reasons.
What was the reason behind changing the door colors?
The red went better with the wood siding, the color together with the wood. The only reason we changed it to green is because that wood was removed. Kind of. That's the only reason. There's red tones in the wood. That's why the doors were red.
Okay. That's all my questions.
And the removal of the wood, was it like a cost
That's
thing?
that's the main reason why we're here today too, is because of the reason of the cost.
Their
That's
value
why,
in
yeah,
engineering.
that's exactly why.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have no other speaker cards. Does anybody else want to speak on this topic? No? Well, since there was no other speaker cards, there's probably no need for a rebuttal. So with that, I'll go ahead and close the public portion. Mr. Chachin, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So in comparing the two designs, my main concern in the removal of the cladding material and the corrugated metal material is that it opens up masses that were previously hidden in each of the 4 units. So the concern that I would have, and I'd like to get your input on addressing it, is, for example, here you have this corrugated, so it breaks up this mass. Here you have 2 elements. One, the window size has been reduced, and then so you have this mass here, this mass here, this mass here, and this mass here, all without any break to it. So you're looking at just walls. I would like to maybe suggest using some sort of paint or something of that nature to make the illusion.
Suggestion.
The volumes are just straight volumes of stucco and one window. And before they were broken up with the metal elements that are being removed in this design. So here you had this nice break here, and they're carried forward. That's gone. And so that, to me, makes the project and that's the elevation look much more massive than I think it's intended to be. And then there's no articulation between what we're looking at before and now. I mean, that design had it, this one doesn't. And I would like to see something other than just stucco. I think we need to either suggest maybe 2-tone stucco or something if we want to stick with value engineering. But I think the quality of material, the difference is significant. We don't have the wood either. It also opens up the volume, that space that are on the second floor. But again, just gray stucco.
In the rendering, also, you get a better sense of the undulation, though,
Yeah, you do.
with the fins coming up above the entrances and the railings and et cetera. Okay.
If I may, I don't want to take your time, because I'm looking at the previous one, I'm looking at this
I'm sorry.
elevation too.
Can the board members speak up a little bit, because
yeah.
when you have your backs to your microphones, we
I
can't
don't mean
quite
to
catch
take your
you.
time
No,
away.
that's
but
fine.
You can have my time. What I'm saying is, when you see the previous elevation, although it's corrugated vertical metal, but I don't know, the color tone kind of blends in with the stucco. It's not
That's
really,
true. That's true.
accentuated. So, I don't know if changing the colors of the stucco or not, but
So, aside from that, just the palette seemed a little blander to me than the previous submittal. That's it.
Very good, Mr. Mardian.
I'm always looking for different materials on these buildings, but also I'm sympathetic to some of these cost issues that come up. Yeah, and I hate to go against our design guidelines. And, when I first looked at it, I'll start with the screening. And although that material is different and it shows the silhouette on one side, I think it's elevation. Then when you come to the side, they're recessed in. So, I thought whether those really, they're different material, it creates a translucent, but whether or not that really made the building to me or not, and I felt it didn't. So I'm okay with the screening with the stucco, with the exception on this, the west elevation, and I think it should be raised. Just to make sure that the screening is, all the IC units are screened. Although when you're standing, you may not see it, but I'm going to go with our general practice, which is at least 6 inches above, The AC unit should be 6 inches below. And as far as the material, I did like the material. I liked the building previously, but again, some of these sides, because of the undulation and all that, I'm looking at these, except the neighbor's side is going to see it. You really barely see it
From the street.
From the street. So yeah, it's a nicer product. What I was thinking to maybe at least bring the colors back to the original. Maybe that gray should be more of a brownish, So we'll bring it back to
Like a cocoa color.
like a cocoa color, yeah.
Exactly.
And to alleviate that, I know I'm maybe adding my thought on this, by breaking that mass that you're talking about, the vertical mass on all the stucco. Could be done with a control joints, very thin control joints, and that band could be maybe
Some sort of a riglet that
Yeah,
actually
riglet,
has that
right.
aluminum look to it.
Look.
He's gonna need that anyway because it's gonna crack.
so maybe by doing that, horizontally, we'll break the
That's a very good idea.
will break the mass. But again, I don't know if that's leading to more of a outdated, treatment, because this building is a little more crisp. So I like, that may help, reduce the, and if he changes the color of the stucco, the recessed areas to a darker color, maybe he can recreate those doors.
Break it with the horizontal, those
To
vertical
that
white
color.
masses.
Other than that, satisfied with the planters being burnished, the other materials have changed. We have to look at the, sometimes economics on these smaller projects. Although we have all these rules to follow, I don't want to set precedent for some other projects to come in. But the mass and scale on this, has a lot of articulations, and I think that will alleviate, that material change, in my opinion. But I'd like to see what else you guys want to say about it.
Mr. Balyan.
And I tend to agree with Mr. Charshian and Mr. Mardian about both your comments, and I believe the comments that Mr. Charshian is making, they stand out in the elevation views. When you look at the elevation, yes, this looks more in terms of it's better treatment in terms of mass, and you look at the elevation. But I think in real life, once the building is built, you're not going to see that much. The differentiation is not going to be that massive, because you're looking at a 2D drawing here. It might be a little bit tricky. So in terms of color changes, I think if they stick with the original colors, they can still achieve the same mass, breaking the mass. And I think Mr. Martin's idea of some control joints could also help break the stucco. And other than that, it looks good to me.
Okay. I agree. I concur with the decisions as well. I think for an overall two-story building of 4 units on Palm, which I know that street fairly well, which has a lot of nondescript kind of stucco buildings to begin with that were built in the 80s, it has quite a bit of undulation to it. And so when we look at the east view rendering, I think it gives us a good idea of the amount of undulation that's occurring there. And coupled with railing material, coupled with the fins over the doors, I think it has most of the character that we're looking for. I do agree with both comments, though. I think if we're able to break up that verticality with some control joints, maybe a riglet that would be more crisp, and that could maybe line up with this element.
The horizontal.
Yeah, it might emphasize the horizontality, perhaps. And at the same time, with Mr. Mardian's comments as well about the screening, I think is, we got to be in line with our design guidelines. So I support the project as well.
If staff could just ask for a little assistance, since this is a little this decision is leaning towards something that's a little off from the guidelines and also from the direction we often give to applicants when we're meeting with them. If the board could give us some, maybe an unofficial finding of why in this project, because of the quality of the articulation or the movement of the volumes, you find this to be appropriate in a way that it might not be appropriate on another project, that would be helpful for us now for writing up the record of decision and also in the future.
As I said earlier, I think the mass, I don't want it to be a precedent setting for other projects. I'm very, sentimental to these materials, just like Mr. Charchan, due to the fact that the mass and scale and the articulation, and in this case, in my opinion, is justifiable. And as long as we can get the colors of the building back to, originally, whether, stucco finish, then I think I can make that finding.
Okay, so we'll emphasize the quality of the articulation here. The depth of the changes in the volumes is significant enough to allow for the light and shadow to play across it in a way that
and
meets your...
For a small 4-unit project, I think it has quite a bit of undulation articulation, coupled with the planters and the common area amenities, coupled with the railings, juxtaposed with some of those horizontal canopies over the doors that are fixed. I think all in all, it has quite a bit of play, and it's not the typical stucco box that sometimes we end up seeing, that we end up, talking about all the elements that I guess are usually prescribed. Yeah.
That's very helpful. Thanks.
The other thing, if I may add, I don't know if the guidelines are very specific about the screening and the material, how it's screened. And, it's been general practice, as long as you have the parapet and it's articulated, sufficient enough. This was a one-story building and so forth, maybe that screening would have been more visible. But in this particular case, even looking at the previous front elevation, that, I'm barely going to see that screening. So, yeah, the architect previously wanted to do a creative stuff, but, it happens that we come back and, refine these things. That's my finding on the screening.
Still has quite a bit of architectural character built in.
Yeah.
Okay, so does staff want to go over the conditions or comments very quickly?
Sure. We have a condition to, and help me understand this. I think it's the lower elevation on the right-hand drawing where you can see a bit of the mechanical equipment. We will raise the parapets.
Raise these parapets.
At the west side?
West side.
So we'll raise the parapets at the west elevation to be 6 inches higher than the units behind them. We will break up the masses of the tall, lighter colored volumes with a horizontal reglet or some sort of band
To east elevation.
just on the east elevation.
Oh, that should occur on, it's both. Oh, sorry, let me see. Yeah, it should occur on.
Just where it's the two-story kind of stacks.
Yeah, the vertical stucco. Unless
Okay,
the
so
board feels otherwise.
Can be on the east and the west.
East and west, yeah.
East and west?
Yeah.
East plus west. To break up those masses, we will change the paint color palette to more closely reflect the colors seen in the original rendering, certain elevations. And I believe that's everything.
The door colors to be.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Door colors to return. I guess that would apply to general. So we'll change all of the colors of the stucco.
The door
and the
color
doors.
should be at the discretion, I guess, of the architect. If he's going with a cocoa color or whatever it is, to come up with another contrasting modern door color that would work with the new palette.
Okay, we'll look for contrasting door color to work with new palette.
If I may add another thing, I don't know if the board members agree. Maybe that also will help the mass, the copings on the parapet walls, if they should be maybe wider, to give you a little more
Is that simply just some sort of, it's probably just some sheet metal, brake metal,
Right,
right?
The drip cap.
Could actually go with a contrasting color.
Yeah, with the contract, I was going that way. But whether or not it should be
More emphasized?
more emphasized. But I leave that up. Sorry.
Do we have any
Give it as a recommendation. maybe.
buy-in on that?
We can,
Should we can make it a consideration?
consideration, yeah.
Consider contrasting color on the parapet caps and possibly higher,
Wider.
making them taller? Yeah, okay.
A wider flange.
That's everything?
I believe so.
Okay.
Does someone want to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the project with the conditions.
A second.
Board Member Benlian,
Yes.
Board Member Charchian,
Yes.
Board Member Mardian,
Yes.
and Chairman Simonian.
Yes. Okay, do we have minutes to approve this evening?
Yes, we do. We have the minutes, actually, from January 14th, 2016, and all board members were present except for Mr. Malikeen, who arrived after the conclusion of the first case, but he is not here, so he will not be able to vote on the minutes anyway, so.
Excuse
And if
me,
you-
board members, we just heard from the applicant that the board didn't take into consideration the request to remove the green screen at the rear of the property. Is that something that is acceptable? Maybe you might have to reopen that item.
Reopen the hearing now?
I think so, unless it just,
But
Unless
don't the
we-
plans have it removed?
it's not exactly clear. They're shown on the rendering, it's shown on the renderings.
Showing on the plans, but she mentioned that she wanted,
Oh, it's showing on the plans, but it's not showing on the rendering.
The rendering, in the
So
packet
here-
shows it.
yeah.
It's not here.
It's in the rendering in the packet,
Plan.
not the elevations.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You might
What
want
is the
to
general
reopen.
consensus to reopen?
I don't need to open it. Just,
Since it wasn't considered and discussed, you might.
We can just let it go away.
however,
I think we should just reopen, just to make sure that we consider the item. So there's no question as to
Correct.
it not being
My
discussed on the
quick
record.
take on it is that a lot of times items are discussed in a hearing, and if the drawings don't holistically include them, and the board doesn't really opine on them or talk about them or bring them up, it's almost like we agree to whatever the architect is saying. Because it'd be hard to, that every which item that's brought up then needs to be discussed. So sometimes I think if we're not bringing up an issue, we holistically agree with it or don't harp on it. That said, I'm seeing a lot of no. Staff's just saying.
I'm not sure.
Villia's
I'm-
saying no, and Jay's
Villia's-
saying fine.
well, just open it. We
Different
can
than
close
me.
it.
All right, we'll open it. I'll open the public hearing again. Do we want to add a condition to reference the removal of the green screening?
Yes.
Yes. So if you would, Mr. Platt, just add it to the list of items
I've got it.
as discussed, and with that, I guess we'll take another motion.
It's not so much taking another motion, but it'd be the board actually acknowledging the fact that you have taken into consideration the applicant's request to remove the green screen and that you either approve it or do not. So, or at least acknowledge the fact that
Yeah. Now it's added
What's
to the
being
list of
considered.
conditions that were previously approved.
So
and I think
I'd like
we're-
to make a suggestion, just make a quick motion to approve with the additional condition that the green screen will be removed. And if I have a second, then we can just vote on it, and then it's,
okay, and it's not so much to have a condition that it be removed, it's more along the lines of acknowledging the fact that as part of the application, they are removing the green screen and that the board is okay with that
As-
request. So it's not exactly,
so motion to,
what-
you're acknowledging
Why
it.
don't you just make a new
Acknowledge.
motion to approve the entire project with the conditions as discussed and
I'll make the motion again to approve it, including the screening to be removed.
Very good.
who made that?
Mr. Mardian did, and do we have
I'll
a second?
second it.
Thank you.
Okay, so roll call vote, Board Member Benlian,
Yes.
Board Member Charchian.
Yes.
Board Member Mardian,
Yes.
Chairman Simonian.
Yes. So with that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing again. So we have approval of the minutes from January 14. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from January the 14th. Motion made by Board Member Benlian and a second by Board Member Mardian. In terms of a roll call, Board Member Benlian?
Yes.
Board Member Mardian?
Yes.
Board Member Charchin?
Yes.
Chair Simonian?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. There are no other items on tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Yes.
You don't need to vote.
Okay.